The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth as I stepped into the quaint hotel in Asheville, North Carolina. The familiar sights of the Arts and Crafts Festival spilled out onto the streets, vibrant colors and lively chatter surrounding me. This place had always felt like a second home, a refuge from the chaos of daily life. Yet this time, the comfort I sought was shadowed by an unsettling reality. The room was small, just enough space for 2 beds and a shared bathroom. I had anticipated this trip would be a chance to reconnect with family, to relive cherished memories. However, sharing this intimate space with my stepbrother added an unexpected layer of complexity. The moment I opened the door to our room, I could feel the tension simmering beneath the surface. As I set my bag down on one of the beds, he looked up from his phone. "Hey," he said, his voice casual but his eyes betraying a hint of something deeper. I forced a smile in return, trying to mask my unease. "Nice place," I replied, glancing around at the rustic decor, handcrafted furniture and local art adorning the walls. He nodded but didn't engage further. Instead, he turned back to his phone, scrolling through messages while I unpacked my things. Each movement felt heavy with unspoken words. We were bound by family ties yet separated by an invisible barrier that seemed to grow thicker with each passing moment. After a few minutes of silence, I decided to break the ice. "Do you remember that summer we spent here as kids?" His gaze shifted back to me, and for a fleeting moment, warmth filled his expression. "Yeah," he said softly. "We got lost in those woods." I chuckled at the memory, a mix of fear and thrill as we wandered off during a hike, only to find our way back after hours of exploring together. It had been innocent then, our bond felt pure and uncomplicated. But now everything felt different. The past loomed over us like a specter, reminding me of how those innocent feelings had morphed into something more complicated over time. As I rummaged through my bag for a sweater, my fingers brushed against something cool and hard, a small family photo tucked away in an old journal. Pulling it out, I studied it closely, our younger selves beaming back at me from years gone by, carefree smiles framed by sunshine and laughter. "Is that us?" he asked suddenly from across the room. I glanced up to see him leaning closer for a better look. "Yeah," I replied quietly as nostalgia washed over me. He took it from my hands and examined it thoughtfully. "We were so different then." I nodded in agreement but felt an ache deep within me, the kind that comes from recognizing how much had changed between us since those simpler days. Just then, an old friend appeared outside our window, someone I hadn't seen in years but who had once been central to my life here in Asheville. She waved enthusiastically before disappearing into the crowd below. A pang of longing struck me, memories flooded back unbidden, the laughter shared over coffee at local cafes or late-night talks under starlit skies. "Do you want to go out?" he asked suddenly, breaking through my reverie. I hesitated for just a moment before nodding again. Perhaps fresh air would clear my mind, or at least distract me from these conflicting emotions swirling within me like storm clouds gathering on the horizon. As we stepped outside into the bustling streets filled with festival lights and artisan stalls, it became increasingly difficult to ignore that underlying tension between us, the kind that made every brush of our shoulders feel electric. "Look," he said suddenly as we approached one booth showcasing handmade jewelry sparkling under soft lights. "That reminds me of what you used to wear." "I still do," I shot back playfully but couldn't help feeling exposed under his gaze as if he could see right through me. We wandered through the festival together, laughter mingling with music, but every shared glance lingered too long on unspoken truths hovering just out of reach like fireflies dancing beyond grasping fingers. Later that evening when we returned to our room after exploring downtown Asheville's vibrant streets lit up by festival lights reflecting off storefronts filled with local crafts, my heart raced unexpectedly when he closed the door behind us. "Can you believe how much has changed?" he asked casually as if trying to deflect some weighty conversation looming overhead. "Yeah," I replied slowly while glancing around at familiar surroundings now tinged with uncertainty. The room felt smaller somehow despite its cozy charm. Every corner seemed charged with unacknowledged feelings threatening to spill over into something more complicated than either one of us anticipated. He moved closer toward me until only inches separated us, a space once filled with innocence now fraught with tension that seemed impossible to ignore any longer. It hung thick between us like fog settling low against ground before dawn breaks free again into daylight's embrace. My breath caught in my throat when he reached out, tentatively brushing fingertips against mine, a simple gesture yet laden with meaning. And before either one could think better of it or retreat back into safer territory defined by familial bonds rather than forbidden attraction. Our lips met softly, tentatively, as if testing waters too deep for either one, willing enough yet terrified enough, not knowing where they might lead next beyond this moment suspended in time, forever etched within memory's grasp. But then came footsteps echoing outside our door, followed by muffled voices drawing nearer, a reminder that reality awaited just beyond these walls, where secrets lay hidden beneath layers built upon years spent navigating familial complexities. And just like that, the world outside came crashing down on us both, leaving everything hanging precariously in balance, caught between desire ignited anew amidst fears threatening all we knew about love and family, torn apart by choices made long ago yet still resonating loudly even now. The rain began to fall heavily, tapping against the window like an urgent message. The sound filled the small hotel room, drowning out the world outside. I glanced at my stepbrother, who sat on the edge of his bed, his brow furrowed in thought. The intimacy of our shared space felt stifling now, and I struggled to maintain the distance I had promised myself. "Looks like we're stuck here for a while," he said, breaking the silence. His voice was calm, but I could hear an undercurrent of tension. "Yeah," I replied, trying to keep my tone light. "Just our luck." The storm outside raged on, mirroring the turmoil within me. As I fiddled with a loose thread on my blanket, I stole glances at him. Memories flooded my mind, moments from childhood when we played together, laughter echoing through family gatherings. Those innocent days felt distant now, overshadowed by the complexities of our current situation. Suddenly, a loud clap of thunder rattled the windows, making me jump. He looked at me then, a flicker of concern in his eyes. "Are you okay?" I nodded quickly, though my heart raced for reasons beyond fear of the storm. "Just startled." We fell into silence again, the weight of unspoken words hanging between us like a thick fog. The rain continued to pour as if it were trying to wash away our secrets. After a few moments that felt like hours, he stood up and walked over to the window. He peered out as if searching for something beyond the sheets of rain obscuring our view. "I didn't think it would rain today," he mused aloud. "It's Asheville, you never know what to expect with the weather," I replied softly. He turned back to face me and leaned against the wall casually, but there was an intensity in his gaze that made my heart skip a beat. "What do you think our parents will say if they find out we've been spending so much time together?" The question hung in the air between us like an uninvited guest at a family reunion. "They'd probably just think we're bonding," I said lightly, though my stomach twisted at the thought. "Bonding," he echoed thoughtfully before letting out a small laugh that didn't quite reach his eyes. The tension shifted slightly as we both tried to navigate this awkward conversation without stepping too far into forbidden territory. But then came another crack of thunder followed by another flash of lightning illuminating his face for just a moment, a reminder of how close we were standing to crossing lines neither of us knew how to define. "I mean, it's not like we can help it," he added quietly after a pause that stretched longer than either of us anticipated. "No," I agreed almost breathlessly as I found myself drawn closer against my better judgment. In that charged moment, something shifted, an electric connection sparked between us that was impossible to ignore any longer. The air around us thickened with unspoken desire and unresolved feelings that had festered beneath layers of family ties and unacknowledged truths for far too long. Before I could process what was happening or even consider stopping it, he stepped closer still until mere inches separated us, breaths mingling in shared hesitation as our eyes locked onto one another, searching for answers hidden deep within those familiar depths. And then it happened, we kissed. The world outside faded into insignificance as everything else melted away in that instant. The raindrops drumming against glass became nothing more than background noise while time stood still around us. Two souls colliding in defiance against expectations and boundaries set long before either of us had any say in them. But just as quickly as it began, reality crashed back in. The sound of laughter from families gathered nearby seeped through walls built by years spent navigating complicated relationships and expectations we never asked for but inherited nonetheless. We pulled apart abruptly, gasping for air as if surfacing from underwater after being submerged too long. Faces flushed with confusion and urgency mingling with something deeper lurking beneath surface-level emotions threatening to spill over into chaos if left unchecked. "What was that?" he whispered breathlessly, his eyes wide with disbelief mirroring my own swirling thoughts pushing their way forward demanding attention amidst fear gripping tight around my heart threatening everything about this moment crafted from shadows cast by familial bonds too tangled to easily unravel, without consequences looming ahead waiting patiently just outside our door ready to pounce at any sign weakness displayed openly amongst those who would never understand what transpired. Here today behind closed doors hidden away from prying eyes expecting only traditional roles fulfilled without question or doubt. "I don't know," I managed finally, my voice trembling slightly betraying how unsettled everything felt now swirling around inside me like leaves caught up in gusty winds swirling unpredictably through autumn streets lined with memories both sweet and bitter reminding me constantly about choices made long ago echoing loudly even now forcing confrontation between desires held close yet feared deeply. As thunder rumbled once more overhead heralding another wave crashing down upon us both, a reminder nature itself conspired against such forbidden feelings threatening all we knew about love and family, torn apart by choices made long ago yet still resonating loudly even now. "We should talk about this," he suggested cautiously stepping back slightly creating space between us again though tension remained palpable hovering just above surface level waiting patiently ready strike whenever opportunity arose. "Yeah, maybe later?" My voice sounded small even amidst chaos swirling around outside, uncertainty gnawed at edges reminding me how delicate balance maintained between desire ignited anew amidst fears threatening all we knew about love and family, torn apart by choices made long ago yet still resonating loudly even now. He nodded slowly but uncertainty lingered there hanging heavily above us both like dark clouds above mountain peaks waiting patiently for moments when storms would break free unleashing torrents upon unsuspecting souls caught unaware amidst tranquil surroundings turned tumultuous without warning leaving everything hanging precariously in balance, caught between desire ignited anew amidst fears threatening all we knew about love and family, torn apart by choices made long ago yet still resonating loudly even now. The air in the hotel room felt thick with unspoken words. After the kiss, everything seemed to shift. I could hardly look at him without recalling the moment our lips met, a fleeting spark that ignited a fire I had tried so hard to suppress. Each time he glanced my way, I felt that familiar heat rising in my cheeks, a mixture of embarrassment and longing. Dinner was chaotic, filled with laughter and chatter from our families, but I could hardly focus on anything but the tension simmering between us. He sat across the table, his eyes occasionally darting toward me, each glance sending a jolt through my body. I forced a smile at the jokes shared around me, but inside, I wrestled with guilt and desire. "Are you okay?" he whispered during a lull in the conversation. His voice was low enough that only I could hear it. "Yeah," I managed to reply, though my heart raced at his proximity. "Just tired." He nodded but didn't seem convinced. The playful banter continued around us, our families blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. As dinner progressed, an unexpected twist unfolded. My mother began sharing stories from her past, tales filled with warmth and nostalgia. It was comforting until she casually mentioned one of her old flames, a name that sent shivers down my spine because it belonged to someone who had once been close to our family. He had such charm, she said dreamily. But it was complicated. I glanced at him, his expression mirrored my own confusion. Complicated seemed like an understatement given our current situation. The weight of family history hung over us like a cloud ready to burst. Later that night, when we retreated back to our room, silence enveloped us like a thick fog. The dim light cast shadows on the walls as we both avoided eye contact while preparing for bed. My heart raced as I climbed into bed beside him. One bed felt too intimate yet too familiar all at once. "Can we talk?" he finally said after what felt like an eternity. "About what?" My voice trembled slightly. "About earlier, about us." He shifted closer, his presence felt overwhelming yet comforting. "I don't know if we should," I replied softly, biting my lip as anxiety washed over me. "Why not? We can't keep pretending nothing happened." His tone was earnest yet laced with uncertainty. I took a deep breath and turned to face him fully. "What do you want me to say? That everything's fine? Because it's not." He looked down for a moment before meeting my gaze again. I don't want this to ruin everything between us." The honesty in his eyes made my heart ache with conflicting emotions, fear of losing what we had versus the undeniable attraction pulling us together like gravity itself. "We need to be careful," I warned him gently. "Careful? Or just afraid?" he challenged softly. The question lingered in the air between us. It echoed back to those moments spent together when laughter came easily before complications arose from uncharted territories of our relationship. Before either of us could think further on it, he leaned in closer again and pressed his lips against mine once more, a brief yet electrifying connection that sent shockwaves through me despite every reason telling me to stop. "What are we doing?" I breathed when we pulled apart. "I don't know," he admitted honestly but didn't pull away as if searching for something deeper within this tangled web we found ourselves caught in. The thrill mingled with apprehension, creating an intoxicating atmosphere neither of us could resist anymore. The next day brought family activities planned around Asheville's Arts and Crafts Festival, an event bustling with creativity and life just outside our hotel door. But all I could think about were those stolen moments shared behind closed doors where secrets thrived amidst uncertainties surrounding our choices made long ago yet still resonating loudly even now. As we wandered through stalls filled with local artisans showcasing their crafts, wooden sculptures gleaming under soft sunlight or paintings bursting with color, I caught sight of him speaking animatedly with one of our relatives nearby while holding something small wrapped in paper tightly within his hand. Curiosity piqued as they laughed together over whatever joke had been shared between them just moments before. Then suddenly my eyes fell upon something else entirely, an envelope peeking out from beneath his jacket pocket, a love letter addressed not to me but someone else entirely. My heart sank into my stomach as panic surged through me. How did this happen? Why hadn't he mentioned it? I stepped away quietly, trying not to draw attention while replaying every interaction leading up until now. Every laugh shared suddenly feeling tainted by doubt swirling within me like dark clouds overhead threatening rain at any moment, readying themselves for a storm brewing just out of sight. Later that evening, after returning from an exhausting day spent navigating crowded streets filled with colorful stalls and lively music echoing around us, we found ourselves alone again back inside our hotel room where tension hung heavier than ever before amidst unspoken truths lingering between us both. "What's wrong?" he asked cautiously, noticing how distant I'd become since discovering that letter hidden away earlier today, the very thought gnawing at edges, reminding me how fragile everything felt now more than ever before. "You tell me," I replied sharply, unable to hold back frustration anymore. Emotions spilled out uncontrollably like water breaking free from dammed reservoirs, threatening flooding without warning, leaving nothing untouched behind. He looked taken aback by my response but quickly regained composure, meeting my gaze head-on, determined despite uncertainty lingering still. I don't know what you mean. You have someone else? The words escaped before logic could catch up, a rush fueled by hurt feelings igniting flames already flickering dangerously close, threatening everything built thus far upon shaky foundations constructed from secrets kept hidden beneath layers built upon fear alone. What are you talking about? He stammered, clearly confused, trying desperately, searching for clarity amidst chaos unraveling right before our eyes, leaving nothing sacred untouched anymore. The letter. My voice trembled as realization hit hard. It wasn't just about desire anymore. It was about trust, shattered pieces scattered everywhere, unable ever pieced back together again, without care taken, moving forward carefully, navigating treacherous waters ahead, uncertain where they might lead next. His expression shifted slowly, understanding dawning, realization creeping into view. That wasn't meant for you. But it changes everything. The weight settled heavily upon both shoulders, pressing down relentlessly, threatening suffocation amidst turmoil swirling around us, leaving no escape route visible anywhere nearby. And just then, the doors swung open unexpectedly, revealing parents standing frozen, wide-eyed, witnessing scene unfolding right before them, leaving nothing left unsaid or undone anymore. The silence stretched between us, thick with unspoken words and the weight of our actions. I could see the shock in my stepbrother's eyes mirrored in my parents' expressions. They stood frozen, mouths slightly agape, as if the very air had been knocked out of them. The moment felt suspended in time, a fragile crystal about to shatter. What on earth is going on here? My mother's voice broke through the tension, sharp and demanding. She stepped forward, her gaze darting between us as if trying to piece together a puzzle that had suddenly turned chaotic. We were just, my stepbrother stammered, his face flushed. I could feel heat creeping up my own neck, shame curling tightly in my stomach. The forest loomed behind us like an ominous witness to our indiscretion. Just what? My father's tone was low and dangerous. You two are supposed to be family. Family. The word hung in the air like a heavy fog, suffocating any chance of explanation or defense. I took a shaky breath, trying to find words that could untangle this mess, but nothing came. I glanced at my stepbrother. His expression was a mix of defiance and fear, mirroring my own turmoil. We had crossed an invisible line that day in the woods, one that blurred the boundaries of our relationship and left us teetering on the edge of something we could not fully understand. I think we should go back inside, he finally said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. He turned away from my parents, taking a step toward the hotel entrance. Wait, I called after him, desperation lacing my tone. We can't just leave it like this. But he kept walking, shoulders hunched against an invisible weight. I wanted to chase after him but felt rooted to the spot by my parents' bewildered stares. Emily, my mother said softly now, her voice tinged with concern rather than anger. What happened out there? I hesitated, grappling with how to explain something even I didn't fully comprehend. We were just talking about feelings, I managed finally. Feelings? My father echoed incredulously. What kind of feelings? The question hung heavy between us again as I felt their scrutiny intensify. My heart raced as I considered how much to reveal, how much they could possibly understand about what had transpired between me and my stepbrother. It's complicated, I admitted quietly, feeling vulnerable under their gaze. Complicated how? My mother pressed gently but firmly. I took a deep breath. Honesty seemed like both a relief and a burden all at once. There's been tension between us for a while now. Tension? My father scoffed incredulously. You call this tension? This is far beyond that. I winced at his harshness but couldn't deny the truth in his words. There was no denying what had happened. It was now part of our shared history, a secret we would carry forever unless confronted head-on. I'm sorry, I said finally, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes as emotion threatened to spill over again. My mother stepped closer, her expression softening as she reached for me gently. "Honey, we just want you to be happy, whatever that looks like." Happy? The word felt foreign against the backdrop of this moment, a stark contrast to everything swirling inside me now. "We didn't mean for it to happen," I confessed quietly before adding with more conviction than I felt, "but it did." My father sighed heavily. It was clear he was struggling with his emotions too, the protective instinct battling with disappointment and confusion over what we had done. "We need to talk about this," he finally said after an agonizing pause filled with uncertainty and unspoken fears about family dynamics shifting irrevocably beneath our feet. We turned back toward the hotel together, my parents leading while I lingered behind for just a moment longer, glancing back toward those woods where everything had changed so suddenly and irrevocably. Inside our small hotel room once more, walls closing in around us, I felt the tension shift again as if every corner held echoes of what transpired outside moments ago. "I'm sorry about your parents catching us," he said quietly after a long silence settled between us once more, his voice barely above a whisper yet somehow carrying all its weight across that small distance separating us now. "It wasn't just your fault," I replied softly, though guilt gnawed at me still. The knowledge that we'd crossed lines meant for families only added layers upon layers of complexity into an already tangled web woven around our lives together since childhood began, intertwining paths so closely knit together they hardly resembled separate threads anymore. We spent hours talking, dissecting every moment leading up until then while trying desperately not only to make sense out of everything but also navigate through emotions rawer than either one of us anticipated confronting tonight amidst uncertainty looming ever closer like shadows, creeping across dimly lit corners, waiting patiently until dawn broke anew, revealing truths hidden away from sight until then. As dawn approached, slowly painting soft hues across darkened sky outside our window, the world began waking up around us, yet here inside this room filled with secrets shared only between two souls bound forever by choices made under starry skies, we remained ensnared within those fragile moments, suspended timelessly somewhere between rightness, wrongness, love, fear, longing, desire, uncertainty, all tangled up together. And when morning light finally filtered through those curtains, casting warm glow upon everything surrounding me, I found myself staring down at tangled sheets still rumpled from restless nights spent together, wrapped tightly within each other's arms, seeking solace, warmth, comfort shared amidst everything swirling around, leaving little room left for doubt lingering beyond those walls anymore. But reality crashed down hard when footsteps echoed outside, reminding me how quickly things could unravel again if caught unaware by prying eyes watching closely, waiting patiently, ready strike without warning should secrets slip free unexpectedly once more, leaving nothing behind except chaos, destruction, heartbreak, shattered dreams lost forever, lost among whispers, carried away by winds blowing softly through trees reaching high above where sun rose brightly, illuminating paths ahead yet unseen. Still shrouded mystery, waiting patiently until time came, reveal all truths hidden beneath surface, waiting patiently until someone dared venture forth, uncover them. And so began another day filled uncertainty, choices looming ever larger, growing heavier each passing moment, threatening crush beneath weight, pressing down relentlessly, leaving no escape route visible anywhere nearby. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow in the small hotel room. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, grappling with the weight of secrets that felt heavier than ever. The previous night's kiss lingered in my mind like a haunting melody, one I couldn't shake off. I needed to regain control over my emotions and find a way to navigate this peculiar situation without drawing attention from our families. As I prepared for the day, I could hear my stepbrother moving around in the bathroom. His presence was both comforting and unnerving. We had shared so much over the years, but this new dynamic felt like walking on a tightrope without a safety net. A knock on the door jolted me from my thoughts. "Hey, breakfast is ready," came a cheerful voice from outside. I recognized it as one of our relatives who had joined us for this family getaway. The sound of footsteps retreated down the hallway, leaving me with an unsettling sense of urgency. "Are you ready?" he called from inside the bathroom. I took a deep breath and replied, "Yeah, just give me a minute." The smell of pancakes wafted through the air as we made our way to the dining area. Our families gathered around a long table filled with an array of breakfast foods, fruits, pastries, and steaming coffee. Laughter filled the space as stories were exchanged about past trips and shared memories. Yet beneath this cheerful facade, tension simmered between us. Every glance felt charged with unspoken words, every brush against each other sent shivers down my spine. I tried to focus on conversations around me but found myself distracted by his presence across the table. As plates were passed around, one family member leaned in closer to me and whispered conspiratorially, "Have you noticed anything different about those two?" They gestured subtly toward us. My heart raced as I caught sight of my stepbrother's face reddening slightly at their observation. "No," I replied quickly, trying to deflect their attention away from us. "Really? They're acting all weird," they insisted with a smirk before turning back to their food. I forced myself to laugh lightly as if it were all just harmless banter while internally panicking about how close we were to being discovered. The rest of breakfast passed in a blur. Laughter echoed around me while my own heart sank deeper into uncertainty. Later that day, after breakfast had concluded and most family members dispersed into various activities around Asheville's Arts Festival, we found ourselves alone again in our hotel room. The walls felt like they were closing in as we both sat silently on opposite ends of our shared bed. "I can't keep pretending," he finally broke the silence, his voice barely above a whisper. I looked at him sharply, fear creeping into my chest at his admission. "What do you mean?" He ran his fingers through his hair in frustration. Whatever this is between us, it's not going away." I swallowed hard as emotions bubbled up inside me, a mix of fear and desire battling for dominance within me. "We can't, it's not right." His gaze locked onto mine with an intensity that made it difficult to breathe. "But what if it feels right? What if we're meant for something more?" Before I could respond, there was another knock at the door, this time more insistent than before. My heart dropped as panic flooded through me once again. "Hey! You two! We need you outside for some games," another relative called out cheerfully from behind the door. We exchanged glances filled with unspoken words before he sighed heavily and stood up to open it. The moment shattered like glass underfoot, reality came crashing back in full force as laughter spilled into our room once more. "Come on. Don't keep us waiting," they urged playfully before disappearing back down the hallway. As he turned back towards me with an apologetic look on his face, I could feel everything spiraling out of control again. The growing distance between us overshadowed by familial expectations looming large overhead like storm clouds threatening rain at any moment. "I'll be right there," he said softly before stepping out into brighter light beyond our doorframe, leaving me alone once more amid swirling thoughts and unresolved feelings that seemed impossible to untangle now more than ever before. The day unfolded slowly after that, amidst games and laughter among family members who remained blissfully unaware of what simmered beneath surface interactions between us both. Each smile exchanged feeling loaded with meaning far beyond mere pleasantries exchanged during casual conversation while engaging in friendly competition outside under warm sunlit skies adorned by vibrant festival decorations hanging above bustling streets filled with artisans showcasing their crafts nearby. In moments stolen away from prying eyes, when we found ourselves tucked away behind vendor stalls or hidden beneath trees lining pathways, we stole glances filled with longing or shared whispers carrying promises unspoken yet deeply understood all too well between two souls bound together against societal norms dictating otherwise. But then chaos erupted when one family member decided unexpectedly to drop by our hotel room unannounced later that evening. An innocent enough visit intended merely as a check-in turned disastrous when they stumbled upon remnants left behind from earlier private conversations shared between us two alone. "What's going on here?" they questioned suspiciously, glancing between us both, eyes narrowing slightly as realization dawned upon them like an unwelcome truth unveiled suddenly under bright fluorescent lights illuminating dark corners previously hidden away. In that instant, the delicate balance we'd maintained shattered irreparably, leaving nothing behind but confusion swirling chaotically around us both, threatening everything built thus far, now teetering dangerously close toward collapse entirely. I can explain, was all I managed to stammer out, desperately trying grasp hold onto any semblance of control remaining amidst unraveling threads pulling tighter, still threatening chokehold upon hearts once intertwined, now caught within tangled webs, spun out of desperation, longing, hope. Dashed against rock's sharp edges, cutting deep, leaving scars forever etched upon memories lingering long after moments fade away into echoes lost among whispers carried softly upon winds blowing gently through trees reaching high above, where shadows danced playfully along paths ahead, unseen, still shrouded mystery, waiting patiently until time comes, reveal all truths hidden beneath surface, waiting patiently until someone dared venture forth, uncover them. The air was thick with unspoken words, each of us trapped in our own thoughts. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on us, heavy with the consequences of what had just unfolded. The woods around us seemed to hold their breath, the leaves rustling softly as if whispering secrets meant only for our ears. "Why didn't you say anything?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. It was a question that hung in the air, a challenge wrapped in vulnerability. I had no answer, not one that would satisfy either of us. "I didn't know how," I replied, my words tumbling out in a rush. "I thought we could just pretend. Pretend that everything was normal, that we were just siblings sharing a space without the complications that came from feelings neither of us had asked for." His gaze fell to the ground, and I could see the conflict swirling within him. "Pretending doesn't work forever," he said quietly. "I can't keep hiding how I feel." That admission sent a shiver down my spine. The honesty in his voice was both terrifying and liberating. Yet, with it came the stark reality of our situation, the looming presence of family expectations and societal norms that dictated what our relationship should be. "We can't," I said firmly, though my heart wasn't in it. Not with everything at stake. The thought of our families discovering what lay beneath the surface sent waves of anxiety coursing through me. He took a step closer, his expression earnest yet pained. "But what if this is real? What if we're not meant to hide?" His eyes searched mine for answers we both knew were elusive. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to embrace the possibility of something more than familial ties binding us together. But fear clung to me like a shadow, whispering doubts into my ear. What would our parents think? What would our lives look like if we chose this path? Then came the sound of laughter echoing through the trees, a reminder that we were not alone in this world filled with expectations and judgments. The family vacation loomed ahead like an impending storm, forcing us to confront not only our feelings but also how they might affect everyone around us. "We should go back," I suggested reluctantly, breaking the spell between us. "We can't let them see us like this." He nodded slowly but didn't move right away. Instead, he lingered for just a moment longer, as if trying to memorize this fleeting connection before reality pulled us apart once more. As we walked back toward the hotel, an uneasy silence enveloped us again. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if we were carrying not only our secrets but also the weight of unfulfilled desires and fears about what lay ahead. Later that evening, as we gathered with family for dinner at one of Asheville's charming restaurants, I felt a sense of dread creeping in like an unwelcome guest. Laughter filled the air around me, my parents joking about old memories while cousins shared stories from their lives, but all I could focus on was him sitting across from me. His eyes met mine briefly before shifting away again. It was as if an invisible thread connected us even amidst all these people who had no idea what turmoil brewed beneath our surface. "Are you okay?" my mother asked suddenly, her brow furrowing with concern as she caught my distracted expression. Yeah, I replied too quickly while forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than genuine happiness. As dinner progressed and plates clinked against one another amid lively chatter, I caught snippets of conversation between family members discussing plans for tomorrow's outing. A hike through nearby trails followed by an afternoon at a local art festival celebrating Asheville's vibrant culture. Sounds fun, my father exclaimed enthusiastically from across the table, oblivious to anything beyond his excitement for nature walks and artisan crafts. But all I could think about was how every moment spent together felt increasingly fraught with unacknowledged tension between him and me, the kind that made it hard to breathe when he was near yet impossible not to crave when apart. When dessert arrived, an assortment of local delicacies, I noticed him fidgeting slightly in his seat before leaning closer toward me under cover of laughter erupting around us. I overheard Mom talking about tomorrow, he murmured low enough so only I could hear him above all noise surrounding us. She mentioned wanting everyone together for family photos. The thought sent another wave of anxiety washing over me. Family photos meant capturing moments frozen in time. Moments where smiles masked all underlying complexities lurking just beneath their surface, waiting patiently until someone dared venture forth uncover them. "What do you want?" I asked quietly after glancing around, ensuring no one else could hear our exchange. Curiosity laced through my voice despite lingering apprehension gnawing at edges, raw nerves exposed beneath layers carefully constructed facade built over years spent navigating familial dynamics fraught with unspoken rules governing relationships among kinfolk. Bound by blood yet tethered tightly together through shared experiences woven intricately into fabric, life shared over decades spent growing side by side, facing challenges thrown their way. He hesitated before answering, a fleeting moment where uncertainty flickered across his features before determination took hold again, like steel forged within flames burning brightly, illuminating path ahead leading toward choices yet unexplored, awaiting discovery hidden behind walls erected long ago, built upon foundations laid down years prior when innocence reigned supreme, untouched by complexities adulthood brought crashing down upon heads once carefree, now burdened heavily under weight. Expectations imposed upon them by society demanding conformity rather than authenticity. "I want you," he whispered fiercely enough for me alone to grasp meaning behind those two simple words, laden heavy with significance, carrying implications far beyond mere desire, rooted deep within hearts entwined together, struggling against tide, pushing back harder each passing day, threatening drown hopes, dreams, aspirations buried beneath layers, fear, shame, guilt rising up, threatening consume everything left untouched until now. My heart raced at his admission, an acknowledgement both exhilarating yet terrifying, simultaneously igniting spark within igniting flames long buried beneath surface, waiting patiently until someone dared venture forth uncover them. But before I could respond or process fully what this meant, what any of this meant, we were interrupted abruptly by laughter erupting nearby, drawing attention away from intimate exchange taking place moments earlier, leaving both parties caught off guard, scrambling regain composure amidst chaos surrounding them, threatening unravel everything built thus far, now teetering dangerously close toward collapse entirely. As dessert plates cleared away, leaving remnants behind, scattered crumbs lingering, sweet aroma wafting through air, thickening atmosphere, charged electricity palpable, hanging heavy between two souls caught between worlds, unable escape confines imposed upon them by others, unwilling confront truths lurking just beyond reach, waiting patiently until time comes, reveal all hidden beneath surface, cloaked shadows dancing playfully along paths ahead, unseen, still shrouded mystery, waiting patiently until someone dared venture forth uncover them. As the laughter faded and the remnants of dessert were cleared away, I felt a strange mix of relief and anxiety wash over me. The moment had slipped through our fingers like sand, leaving behind an unsettling tension that hung in the air between us. I could see it in his eyes, the same blend of confusion and desire that mirrored my own. Yet, we were still trapped in this web of familial expectations, unable to fully confront what had unfolded between us. The family gathering continued around us, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface. Conversations flowed freely, punctuated by laughter and clinking glasses, but I could hardly focus on anything beyond the weight of unspoken words. My heart raced as I glanced toward him, his expression a mixture of longing and frustration. It was as if we were living in two separate worlds, the one filled with family obligations and the other, a secret realm where our desires danced dangerously close to being unveiled. "Let's talk later," he whispered, leaning slightly closer so only I could hear him. The warmth of his breath sent shivers down my spine. "We need to figure this out." I nodded, knowing full well that we couldn't afford to be reckless. Not now, not with everyone gathered so closely. A part of me wanted to escape this suffocating atmosphere, but another part clung to the thrill of what we had shared. The tension between us was palpable. It felt like a tightly wound spring ready to snap. As the evening wore on, I found myself retreating into my thoughts while family members exchanged stories and laughter around me. The conversations felt distant as if they belonged to another world entirely. My mind wandered back to that moment in the woods, a stolen kiss that had ignited something within me that I struggled to understand. With each passing minute, my anxiety grew heavier. What would happen if anyone found out? Would our families ever understand? The fear gnawed at me as I watched everyone interact, their faces illuminated by soft candlelight while mine felt shadowed by secrets. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the gathering began to wind down. People started saying their goodbyes, some hugged tightly while others exchanged polite nods. My heart raced as I caught his eye across the room. He motioned subtly toward the door leading outside. I excused myself from a conversation about mundane family matters and followed him outside into the cool night air. The stars twinkled above us like distant witnesses to our unfolding drama. "Did you mean what you said earlier?" he asked quietly once we were alone under a canopy of trees just beyond the hotel's patio lights. "I don't know," I admitted honestly, feeling vulnerable under his gaze. "Everything feels so complicated right now." He stepped closer until there was barely any space between us, his presence both comforting and overwhelming at once. "We can't keep pretending this isn't happening," he said firmly yet softly. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air as I searched for a response that wouldn't betray either one of us or our families. "What do you want from me?" My voice trembled slightly despite my efforts to maintain composure. "I want you," he replied without hesitation, his sincerity striking a chord deep within me. The world around us faded into silence as those three simple words hung between us like an unbreakable bond forged in secrecy and longing. But with them came a wave of reality crashing down upon me. What would it mean for our families? For everything we'd ever known? "I can't just walk away from everything," I said finally, feeling tears prick at my eyes despite my efforts to stay strong. He sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "Neither can I. But we can't ignore this anymore." His voice softened as he stepped back slightly, giving me space yet still holding on to hope with both hands. In that moment of uncertainty, everything shifted again. My heart raced not just from desire but from fear too, fear of losing him if we let our feelings spiral out of control or worse yet, if anyone discovered our secret. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the night followed by shouts from inside the hotel. Startled voices pierced through our bubble of intimacy like shards of glass breaking apart reality itself. "What was that?" He turned sharply toward the noise while I instinctively grabbed his arm for reassurance. "I don't know," I whispered back nervously as dread filled my stomach. What if someone had overheard us? What if they knew? We hurried back toward where everyone else was gathered only to find chaos unfolding before us. Family members were rushing about trying to assess what had happened. A table had collapsed under too much weight, sending dishes flying everywhere. "Is everyone okay?" Someone shouted amidst rising panic while others rushed forward trying to help clean up debris scattered across the floor. My heart raced as I scanned faces around me, Relief washed over me when I saw no one appeared injured, but then dread crept back in at how easily things could have spiraled out of control moments before. How close we'd come to being exposed right there under everyone's watchful eyes. As people began picking up pieces both literally and figuratively around them, I caught sight again across crowded room. The look on his face reflected mine perfectly. Concern mingled with fear, but also determination, not just for ourselves but for each other too. "Let's get out of here," he murmured urgently, pulling me aside away from chaos surrounding us toward dimly lit hallway leading outside again, where cool breeze wrapped around us offering brief solace amidst storm brewing inside, hearts still beating rapidly against chests filled, uncertainty looming large over future ahead. But just then, a familiar voice called out behind us, breaking through haze surrounding moment, drawing attention back toward reality once more, threatening unravel everything built thus far, now teetering dangerously close toward collapse entirely. "Where do you think you're going?" A family member approached with narrowed eyes, filled suspicion cutting through air, thickening atmosphere, charged electricity palpable, hanging heavy between two souls caught between worlds, unable escape confines imposed upon them by others, unwilling confront truths lurking just beyond reach, waiting patiently until time comes, reveal all hidden beneath surface, cloaked shadows dancing playfully along paths ahead, unseen, still shrouded mystery, waiting patiently until someone dared venture forth. Uncover them. "Where do you think you're going?" The voice sliced through the tension, pulling us back to reality. I turned slowly, my heart racing as I faced a family member whose narrowed eyes seemed to pierce right through the veil of secrecy we had carefully woven around ourselves. "We were just taking a walk," my stepbrother managed to stammer, his voice steady despite the panic swirling beneath the surface. I could feel my cheeks flush, a mix of embarrassment and fear washing over me. The woods had felt like our sanctuary, a place where we could explore our feelings without judgment. Now, that sanctuary was crumbling. "Right," the family member replied, skepticism lacing their tone. "You know how dangerous it is out here after dark." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. I exchanged a glance with my stepbrother. His expression mirrored my own turmoil, caught between familial duty and our own desires. The moment stretched into eternity as we stood there, frozen in place. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the distant sounds of laughter from the festival nearby. It felt as if the entire world had paused to witness our unraveling. "Let's head back," I suggested finally, my voice barely above a whisper. I wanted nothing more than to escape this confrontation, to retreat into the safety of our shared room where things felt simpler, at least for a little while longer. As we walked back toward the hotel, uncertainty hung in the air like fog rolling in from the mountains. My mind raced with thoughts of what would happen next. Would our families confront us? Would they even understand? Or would this be another layer of secrets piled onto an already complicated family dynamic? Once inside our cramped hotel room, I closed the door behind us and leaned against it for support. The familiar scent of wood polish mixed with hints of lavender from a nearby sachet filled my senses, comforting yet suffocating all at once. My heart still pounded in my chest as I tried to collect my thoughts. "I can't believe they caught us," he said, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "We need to talk about this," I replied firmly, feeling an urgency rise within me. "We can't keep pretending everything is normal." He nodded slowly but didn't meet my gaze. Instead, he focused on a painting hanging on the wall, a vibrant depiction of Asheville's mountains at sunset that seemed so far removed from our current reality. "What are we doing?" he asked finally, his voice low and serious. "This isn't just some fling." "No," I agreed quietly. "But what does that mean for us? What do we want?" The question hung between us like an uncharted territory waiting to be explored. We had danced around it for too long, now it demanded answers we weren't sure we were ready to give. "I don't know," he admitted after a long pause. "But hiding feels wrong." Just then, there was a knock at the door that jolted us both from our thoughts. My stomach dropped as dread washed over me. It could only mean one thing: our families were getting involved. "Open up," came another voice from outside, the unmistakable tone of another family member who had likely been alerted by our earlier encounter in the woods. I exchanged panicked glances with him before moving toward the door reluctantly. My hand trembled as I reached for the handle. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but there was nowhere left to hide. As I opened it slightly, two faces stared back at me, concerned and slightly accusatory expressions etched into their features. "There you are. We've been looking everywhere for you too," one exclaimed while stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. I glanced back at my stepbrother, who remained rooted in place like he was trying to gauge how much trouble we were really in. "We were just," I started but faltered under their scrutinizing gazes. "Just what?" They pressed further, crossing their arms defensively as if preparing for battle against whatever secrets we held close to our chests. In that moment, everything felt like it was spiraling out of control, the weight of expectations pressing down on me like an anchor tethered deep beneath turbulent waters, threatening to drag me under entirely. "We need to talk about what happened earlier," one family member insisted sharply, cutting through any chance of deflection or diversion from uncomfortable truths looming ahead like storm clouds gathering on the horizon. My heart sank deeper as they continued questioning us about our whereabouts while trying desperately not show how much turmoil brewed beneath surface emotions threatening break free at any moment now. And then came another knock, a louder one this time, echoing through hallways filled with uncertainty and unresolved feelings swirling around us like autumn leaves caught up in gusty winds sweeping across town square during festival season. Before anyone could respond or react further, a sudden realization hit me hard. This wasn't just about us anymore, it was about family dynamics unraveling right before our eyes. As if sensing my internal struggle, the collective weight bearing down upon all involved, the air shifted dramatically within that small space filled with chaotic emotions battling against each other now more than ever before. And then there was silence, a heavy silence where every heartbeat echoed louder than words ever could until finally breaking free once again. "How much do you really know?" came an unexpected question from one family member who had been observing closely all along, eyes narrowing suspiciously toward both of us standing side by side, now facing inevitable consequences looming ahead whether ready or not. In that instant, I understood clearly, there would be no escaping this reckoning anymore. No way out without confronting harsh realities lying beneath layers upon layers built carefully over years spent navigating complexities woven intricately throughout lives intertwined forevermore. I stood there unsure how best respond, knowing deep down consequences awaited just beyond thresholds separating truth from deception, waiting patiently until someone dared venture forth uncover them.